What's up, y'all? Jeremy Jackson, Sports Medicine Broadcast. Quick tips how to maintain your cart. Robbie McFarlin, Gary McFarlin, the brains and the brawn behind Frio Hydration. A lot of cart repairs, a lot of cart maintenance, a lot of tips and tricks. So we're going to bring you just a few of them today. One of them, white lithium grease. Mr. McFarlin, Mr. Gary McFarlin, why are we using white lithium grease?
Well, it helps protect metal to metal, like in bearings or even cleaning with. Help protect the metal from rusting and clean it.
All right, Robbie, best uses for white lithium grease.
Best uses for white lithium grease are going to be on your, once again, metal situation. So if you have the older Waterboy carts that have the rack and pinion steering, the grease is going to stay in there. Versus WD-40, it runs off. However, since we last talked, WD-40 is now in a gel format. You can purchase that. That's something we're working with here at Frio. White lithium grease is a great coating for any kind of metal cart that you may have, utility cart. Spray it on there. You can leave it on there thick, or you can wipe it off and take it to a thin layer. But it's going to protect you from rust because it's going to displace that water. Water beads up, rolls right off of it.
All right, and you also said you can, if you get a scratch on the metal to prevent rusting, you can spray that on there and then just kind of wipe it off. You'd use this to maintain. Tell me the timetable that you want your customers or people in general, athletic trainers in general, to use white lithium grease to maintain their equipment.
As I learned as an athletic trainer, if you're going to be doing it under heavy use, you want to do it about every 2 weeks. If you're, and heavy use to me is 4 more times a week you're putting out your water unit. If you're doing it under 4 times a week, you can move to about once a month. Obviously, twice a year when you do your heavy cleaning and storage, you want to apply it then as well. So heavy use every 2 weeks, medium use once a month, and all uses, get a good clean on it, and when you store it twice a year.
All right, so right here we have WD-40 white lithium grease. Does the brand matter?
And no,
Brand
doesn't matter.
as long as it's white lithium.
So white lithium grease helps maintain the cart, prevent rust, prevent wear and tear, metal-to-metal contact, and prolongs the life of your equipment. So we're talking about flat-free tires here because I hate going to take stuff out for practice and the tire's flat, and then you end up the inner tube's busted. So Robbie, tell me a little bit about flat-free tires, which ones you recommend and why.
We really like the Marathon tires. That's what we use on our Frio carts. That's what I used before we started making Frio carts, and I was just repairing hydration equipment that we had at the school. The flat-free tire is great. It's got a solid hub. It doesn't get flat spots like some other flat-free tires can do. These tires are durable. I've seen some last quite a while.
Okay, quick tips on replacing this tire, because when I went to the store I had to go back to get the ones that actually fit the old Waterboy carts. So how do we tell if this tire is going to fit on my cart?
Okay, so you're going to measure right off the top. You're going to measure the diameter overall of the wheel. So this one right here, this is an 8-inch wheel. You'll measure your overall diameter, and you can upgrade the size of your wheel if it'll fit size-wise. You can do that. The next thing you're going to measure is the diameter of the bearing. These ones here in particular, and generally what we found, they're 5/8. But always measure yours to make sure, double check. And then you're going to measure the length of the shaft that the wheel will be going on. So you're going to measure that to where the bolt goes on, and then that will tell you how big the hub needs to be.
Because the ones that I bought, the threads didn't stick out past the hub, so I had to go back and get one with a shorter hub.
And on that note, this is something I wanted to add here, is that there's different types of hubs. Hubs that are protruding kind of on one side, those are generally for your hand trucks or even your utility carts. Hubs that protrude on both sides, like what you see here, are actually designed for replacing on these casters. So that was the difference there. I didn't give you that tip.
Gotcha. And then I definitely like the thing you said about ones that don't have bolts right here.
Mm-hmm.
So the ones that just one solid piece of metal, like these Marathon ones, they have no bolts here. So this is 2 pieces screwed together. This is just one solid piece.
Correct.
So Marathon tires, we have links to those in the show notes at sportsmedicinebroadcast.com. I have bearings fall out of my wheels on the carts, and then the wheel is basically useless, and then the cart is basically useless. So, Robbie, can you quickly show us how to remove that bearing, or what it would look like when you remove it, and then let's talk about replacing it.
Well, we got the bearing here, and I'll let our manager of operations show kind of how we pop this bearing out. But that bearing, you're going to tap it from the back side with a long screwdriver and a hammer, which we'll show. And then that bearing is going to pop right out. Go ahead and pull that bearing out. Okay, there's your bearing.
All right, so when I went to Northern Tool, I was super impressed with the guys. I needed help. They went over to the package, said, this is the one I think you need, but let's open it up and test it out. So they went and got a screwdriver. We popped my bearing out, put that one in. Again, the guys at Northern Tool were super helpful. I would highly recommend them. They also said Tractor Supply is a great place to find bearings if you don't have a Northern Tool. Again, I have some links in the show notes on sportsmedicinebroadcast.com. Check out the links to the bearings. But then if I need to replace the bearings, it's because they're worn out, because maybe I didn't grease them. So how am I going to grease those bearings?
Well, what's the number one reason bearings go out?
No grease.
No grease.
To metal.
Metal to metal is bad. You need your grease in there, okay? So when your bearings go dry, this is something we all too often forget. Your bearings go dry, that's metal to metal, it gets sand, grit, whatever. It's just going to begin breaking down these bearings. So once these bearings are broken down, they're worthless. Some hubs have grease fittings, okay? And this grease fitting right here, a standard grease gun like this, bought this one at Tractor Supply. Standard grease gun, fit right on there, and you can pump that hub with grease. And actually, maybe you can see
It's
grease.
coming.
Right, okay. Well, grease goes off in there. And one thing that I do when I'm replacing my bearings, and this is something I learned from Dad and Grandpa working on the truck way back in the day, is we pack the bearings. We'll take a tube of grease, okay, and we'll just fill this whole interior portion of the wheel with grease. Then when we insert our new bearing here and we tap that back on there, this thing is packed with grease. You want to pack your bearings with grease at least once a year.
All right, so remove the bearing, pack it with grease, grease it regularly. How often do we need to put the grease gun on that?
If you use your units more than 4 times a week, 4 more times a week, you want to do this once every 2 weeks. Even more often, the better. Okay. If you use your units less than that, maybe 2 to 3 times a week, you can do this once a month. Obviously, if you're even less than that, it would be okay to do it once every 6 months. I highly recommend that everybody does this when they store their units.
All right, so you also recommended marine grease. Why is that?
Correct. Marine grease is actually the grease that goes in hubs on your boat trailers or on your fittings on boats, wherever that would be. The thing about marine grease is it has a little bit higher, more water displacement. That's what you want. You want to get the water out of there. It's a thicker grease, so it sticks quite a bit. It has a little more tack to it. It's going to stick, hold there, keep the water from getting in to those places you don't want that water in.
All right. So I have links to marine grease and the grease gun and bearings in the show notes on sportsmedicinebroadcast.com. These are great tips for maintaining your carts from me, Jeremy Jackson, at the sportsmedicinebroadcast.com, and the Frio Hydration guys. Again, check out the Frio Hydration at friohydration.com, and then the notes for helpful links on where to get these products.
All right, so you got dielectric grease. This is easily picked up at O'Reilly's, AutoZone, even Walmart. You can get dielectric grease. And what it is it's a grease, very, very similar to any other type of grease that we would use on these carts. But this particular grease has an electrolyte base. Human body, conducting electricity. You get where we're going with this. And this is going to conduct electricity, and it's a safe grease to keep all your electrical connections working freely. Part of the reason why our boxes break, whatever box that may be that you're using, is because stuff gets tight and they yank, pull wires apart, so on and so forth. So when we apply dielectric grease, okay, This is very similar to every other unit on the market. This is our Frio box. What we're going to do here is we're going to apply this dielectric grease. Okay, it'll be applied right on the connector, and you can put it on there thick. It's good. It's safe. It's not gonna harm you. You get it on there thick. Next time you're inserting and taking off these, it's going to be a lot smoother. The other place that we could do this is where we're connecting to the battery charger. Very similar to what other people use. You put that dielectric grease on there, and it'll be a lot freer. Won't get rust. It's actually going to last longer.
All right, dielectric grease. I got links to those in the show notes. Quick, easy way to maintain the carts. Robbie had to come out to the place because and hook me up because we screwed up and broke off one of the tips. Couldn't charge the unit. It's August. Kids are dying of heat. So use this tip. Save yourself a emergency run to the store to try and rewire stuff. So Jeremy Jackson, Sports Medicine Broadcast. Check the links for where you can get your dielectric grease. Robbie from Frio Hydration. Rob, we're going to talk about battery chargers. Sometimes they go out, sometimes they stop working. Kids break them when they're unplugging them. Why have you chosen this one?
We like Battery Tender. The company themselves, they do a great job, great customer service. They know what we're using them for, and they know that their product is going to work for us. And the other thing I like about Battery Tender is they're reliable, and you can find them at Walmart. Okay, they have this exact model at Walmart. This would be the Battery Tender Junior. Okay, but you're looking for something, especially with the 12-volt sealed lead acid batteries that we use in our hydration units. You're looking for something that is going to be designed for that. Matter of fact, Battery Tender was designed for our sealed lead acid batteries. You're looking for something that has the right amperage, and of course this information will be on your battery right there. Okay, so this information is on your battery. You're looking for something that's going to have the right amperage. It's not going to take 3 days to charge. You should have a good overnight turnaround on your charge. And then you can do it with the alligator clips. We like Battery Tender because it comes with the alligator clips, or it also comes with the circle fittings there. You can put them on your battery and it'll take care of it for you.
All right, so, and another thing I like is they have the light blinking thing, but it also tells you on the side of the box. You don't have to know the code, but it tells you right there. Solid green, solid red, whatever. So Battery Tender, great for the Frio Hydrations, great for almost any battery that's in your hydration units. Check it out. I'll have a link to that in the show notes, sportsmedicinebroadcast.com. It should be in the video notes there. But Battery Tender, it's the preferred product from Frio Hydration and Rob McFarlin. Mr. Gary McFarlin, we're going to talk about Teflon tape. Why don't you show us how to put Teflon tape on?
There's a wrong way and a right way. The wrong way, you'll have it balled up in your hands. The right way is hold your fitting in your left hand with your threads towards your right hand and apply the tape opposite direction the way the threads go. And just start at the top of the threads and work your way down. Just 2 or 3 wraps, or 3 or 4 wraps, and then break it off. And you have it on there, and then that way when you thread it on there, it'll stay in place as you thread it on your fittings.
All right, so Rob, why are we using Teflon tape?
Teflon tape is going to seal up any of those little nicks or what have you that may be in the plastic. It's just going to give you a proper seal so you don't have any leaks.
All right, so that's one of the things you said you hated. One of the reasons you built this unit is because you hated leaks. Right.
Yeah, I'm not a fan of leaks because that tells me the water that my athletes should be getting is on the ground, and then my battery's running or
it's rusting something out.
It's rusting something out. That water is intended for my athletes. I need my units running them properly. I don't like leaks.
All right, so sometimes Teflon tape can be finicky. So what are some other options?
Some other options for you. In my dad's industry, natural gas compression mechanic, they call this pipe dope. Okay, you can find this at your Lowe's, Walmart, any hardware store, but it's pipe joint compound. But we just call it pipe dope in the field. And all you do with this right here, it's going to come out. It's a little messier than Teflon tape, I'll tell you that. But you're going to get a good coat in your threads. Okay, get a good coat there in your threads, and then once you run this fitting wherever you're going with it, it's going to seal up same concept as Teflon tape. We're taking all the small little spaces that could be there and cause leaks out.
One other thing, your pipe dope, make sure you get one that is for potable water.
Correct.
Excellent point. Excellent point. Potable water. So pipe dope. And then quick question: does it matter if we wipe up the excess? Because you know when you squeeze it in there,
No, it doesn't matter.
doesn't matter. Okay. So make sure you get the pipe dope, potable water, Teflon tape. Hold in your left hand. Apply away from you, like you just did there, so that when you screw it on, it tightens down. And then you also have Loctite here. When and why?
Raise your hand if you have set screws that come out on your units, right? Okay. So I was thinking how you would tighten them until you can't tighten them anymore, and next thing you know, next day everything's janky and loose, right? Okay. This is something I learned from, once again, my dad, working on cars growing up, working on everything, is to get you some thread locker. There are two types. There is red and blue, and this is easily picked up at Walmart, Lowe's, once again, O'Reilly's, AutoZone, and there's Loctite. They have the thread locker blue, thread locker red. Red is going to make it permanent, okay? And it's going to be very hard to ever get that apart. So consider that. If it's something you want to stay there and you know you will not want it to ever come out, you can use the red. We recommend blue because if you do need to make a repair on something and get it taken apart again, the blue will hold it and keep it, your lock nuts or bolts or what have you, keep them from backing off, keep them from falling out, and you can make your repairs if need be.
Number one place I could see this being useful on the water boys, on the old water boys that I have, the uprights, those
Set screws.
the set screws, the Allen screws, the ones that fit inside, they always come undone. So those things are always getting pulled off and loose and getting cockeyed. So it'd be a great use for Loctite. Again, Rob recommends blue in case you need to make a repair or take it apart at some time in the future. Right now we're talking push to connect fittings, quick connect fittings. So basically getting the water to you. So right here, Robbie's got some of the highest quality, top notch, push to connect fittings. Robbie, go ahead and explain these a little bit more to me.
Well, we've got our push to connect fittings here. This is designed for use with tube. Okay, so what we usually run on hydration units, and I say we, and by we I mean all hydration companies, we're all using tube, okay? There's a difference, there's something out there called PEX. If you get any type of fittings that are for PEX, you're in the wrong place, okay? So what we have here is, these are the fittings we buy, they're very high quality. Then we've got, these are actually some fittings I picked up at Lowe's. They're called Watts, W-A-T-T-S. Watts, you can get the push to connect. They're designed for tube fittings. And you can also get something called ProLine at Home Depot, comparable. What you have on this side, two sizes that are going to matter are going to be your tube side. The tube side, most common dimensions are going to be 1/4, 3/8, or 1/2 inch. Then you've got your thread side. Most common dimensions are 1/4, 3/8, and 1/2 inch. That's going to matter to you if you're applying this, screwing this into another fitting, whatever the case is. The best way to use these is to push the tube in. That's it. That's why I like them. They're simple. Easy fixes if you have any problems. But, like you said, what happens if it doesn't seal up and we got leaks, right?
Right.
Okay? Got the answer for you. It's pretty simple. Push the tube in there. Most of the time, the problem why your quick connects are leaking is because the tube is actually not completely in there. You want to push it in there until you get that little thud at the end. Okay? If it's still leaking beyond that, then it means that the top portion of your tube has become worn. You can actually cut that off. If you'll cut it off with a pair of sharp scissors, make it real flat, level, and clean, reinsert it. It's just like having a brand new tube.
All right, and quickly, we discussed in another video using pipe dope or pipe thread. So if you're inserting these threads, make sure you use the Teflon or pipe dope. So if we continue down this line, we know that we can either push it in a little further, clean up the end, but we continue down this line. So I want to replace my nozzle. Talk about the clamps that we're going to use and why.
The most common application is going to be your screw clamps. I think this is pretty fairly common to everybody. They know how these work. You're gonna put it around your tube, and you're gonna turn that, it'll tighten down. What we like to use, because it's a more permanent and more secure solution, are actually called crimp clamps. These are found in the PEX tubing area, which I just told you to stay away from. This is one thing that actually I think works best for us. These are stainless steel, heavy duty clamps. Only thing is, you got to have a special tool for them. And you can also buy this in the same spot at Lowe's, and you're going to put the end of that in there, and you'll be able to crimp that down, okay? And it's going to crimp down tight, and you get this here, but this is permanent. And if you want to cut it off, or you got to make a repair of one of these, you're going to have to work at it with a good pair of cutters. You're going to have to cut that off. It's a little more difficult because that's a more permanent solution. So keep that in mind. If it's something you know you may change out again, probably want to go with the screw clamp. If you want it to be more permanent, you trust that equipment, as we do, you want to use the PEX clamps.
Now, one reason I prefer the PEX clamp over the screw clamp is with the screw clamp, you have this little piece of metal, once you tighten it down, sticking out the end. And I've had kids reach up there and grab the deal, and they just miss, and they slice their finger on that screw clamp. So if possible, use the PEX clamp, or be sure you cover this up with Power Flex, something like that, so it won't get all sticky and gunked up. But any other tips on any other, like I know you talked about heat shrink at some time, any other way to cover this up to protect the?
You can do heat shrink. The heat shrink that's going to need to be big enough for that is more uncommon. You'll have to find it on Amazon. It is possible to find it, and it's just a piece of vinyl tubing that would slide over there, apply heat to it via a heat gun or a little torch, and it'll shrink up. It'll give you that sealed package that you kind of want to protect. However, these are PEX clamps. They give us pretty round edges. We don't have any problem with anybody hurting themselves.
All right, so again, Jeremy Jackson Sports Medicine Broadcast will have links to some of these tools. And again, Robbie said on his units, almost all of these replacement parts can be found at Home Depot or Lowe's, Tractor Supply, those kind of things. So Amazon, easy to find places. And then on your website, do you have a list of parts, tools, accessories?
We've actually got some of these parts listed, and if you're interested in getting that, you make contact with us.
So if you're interested in getting any of these parts, if you can't find them on Robbie's website, reach out to him at
getfrio@friohydration.com. That's our email, or you can go to our website, friohydration.com.
Good. So I'm Jeremy Jackson, Sports Medicine Broadcast. Quick tips for maintaining your carts.